What is going on, you guys? Sports on the Diesel back at you here with another episode. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the first and second rounds of the NCAA Tournament and the Sweet 16 matchups coming up. Let's get into it. Man, what a first weekend of the NCAA Tournament we watched here. Some of the major upsets like Oral Roberts. We had North Texas. We had UCLA, Abilene Christian, Ohio, one of my picks. You know, a lot of double-digit seeds. Oh, forgetting a team, Syracuse. Like, there were so many upsets in the first couple of rounds in the first weekend of this tournament. I would be absolutely shocked if someone picked a perfect bracket after the first weekend. Here's a stat for you. Only 2,390 brackets picked the four double-digit seeds that are in the Sweet 16. That is UCLA, Syracuse, Oregon State and Oral Roberts. 2,390 brackets. And there were over 14.7 million brackets filled out on ESPN's Tournament Challenge. So that just gives you an idea of that. And when I looked on the website the other day, no one had a perfect bracket. I think the highest player had 550 points out of, I think it was like 600 and something potential points in the first two rounds. So I'm telling you right now, if you pick the perfect bracket, please send me a picture. I would love to see this but this is what makes the tournament so fun, because you just never know who's going to win these ball games. It's like a 50-50 it's like a 50-50 pick pretty much. Even though I know like the 1, 2, and 3 seed games tend to be a little easier to pick because majority of the time they win. And then on the rare occurrence, you get someone like an Oral Roberts that shows up out of nowhere. And you know what's kind of funny? I thought about this. The last 15 seed to make the Sweet 16 was Florida Gulf Coast University that we remember in 2013 when they beat Georgetown, who was the 2 seed at the time. They were in the same, like when you look at the way the bracket is, they were in that same bracket, that the bottom part of that top right bracket, the same exact spot, which I thought was kind of ironic, but we're moving on. Obviously, we know the Big Ten lays a huge egg in this tournament. Michigan is the only Big Ten team left, which was very sad to see. Illinois, Iowa go down. Obviously, Ohio State loses to Oral Roberts. Purdue loses to North Texas. Like, the Big Ten just struggled in this tournament. And that, I know there's a lot of questions that are being asked, like, man, did they really go all out in the regular season to the point where they had nothing left in the tank? Because remember, you know the Big Ten tournament is played every year in Indianapolis. Did they have too much Indianapolis in the in their conference tournament and they just didn't want to be there anymore? I don't know, but that's what it's looking. That's what a lot of people are asking, is what happened to the Big Ten? They were so dominant in the regular season. They were they were arguably the best conference in the entire country. You know, you could argue the Big 12 was really good this year as well, with Baylor, Kansas, and etc. But I think, my personal opinion, I think that the Big Ten was the best conference during the regular season. But with that being said, as one conference that's completely terrible, the other conference, the Pac-12, go nuts, and they're like a bunch of overachievers. They're 9-1, the only Pac-12 team to lose in this conference. Out of this conference to lose is Colorado. They lost to Florida State University in the second round matchup to get to the Sweet 16. But outside of that, if I'm looking at this right, the Pac-12 only had 5 teams. They had like half the teams that the Big Ten had. I think the Big Ten had 9 teams. And they go 9-1 with those 5 teams. That is unbelievable. Like, 4 out of those 5 teams win both of their first and second round games. That's maybe we've been sleeping on the Pac-12 all season long. You know, some of us thought, you know, because Bill Walton had said something about the Pac-12 like, don't sleep on the Pac-12 in this tournament. They could go deep into this tournament. Apparently, we did not listen to them because the Pac-12's everywhere. It's just like they're in the Midwest part of the bracket. We got a Pac-12 matchup in the West part of the bracket with USC and Oregon, which I will get to that matchup later. And then you have UCLA down in the East bracket that's going to be playing Alabama. So we definitely slept on the Pac-12, and good for them. I mean, I was not expecting this. But let's get to the Sweet 16 matchups. We're going to start with Gonzaga, Creighton. I'm not going to go into detail about this one. I picked Gonzaga. Gonzaga's got Timmy. They got Suggs. They're the best overall complete team in this tournament. I picked them hands down. The only way Creighton's going to win this game is if they shoot the lights out of the gym from the three. And they have done it before. And Creighton has a sweet jump shooting team. And that's the only way I think they're going to have a chance to win this game. Remember, Gonzaga averages 92 points a game. 90. That's number one number one in Division I college basketball. So I got Gonzaga moving forward, and plus they're my national title pick, so I can't go against them. USC, Oregon. This was a tough one to pick. Oregon has been fantastic. They put up 95 points on Iowa, and I mean Luka Garza has 36 points in the losing effort. And I tell you right now, as much as I'm rooting for Oregon, I have to go USC on this one. I picked USC. I won't be shocked if Oregon wins, because here's a stat for you with Oregon. Out of the last 8 tournaments Oregon has made, 7 of them, they've won at least one game in the tournament, and 5 of them, they've made the Sweet 16. So don't be shocked if Oregon wins this matchup and goes to the Elite Eight, and probably will play Gonzaga for the Elite Eight spot. Well, at least in my bracket, at least in what I'm predicting here, they're going to play Gonzaga to get to the Final Four. Moving down to the East bracket, we got Michigan and Florida State. I think them missing Isaiah Livers is a huge blow to this team. Isaiah Livers is a guy who averages 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists a game, and you don't have him in this ball game. I'm telling you right now, Florida State and Leonard Hamilton's Florida State team, at long, athletic, and very, very good on the defensive end. They deflect passes, they block shots, one of the top blocking teams in the country. I'm telling you right now, I picked Florida State, and that's actually a pick that I had picked in my original bracket, that Florida State was going to beat Michigan. And after this, there's going to be no Big Ten teams left in the tournament. So I have Florida State winning this ball game. I mean, like they say, that old saying some of y'all remember, offense sells tickets, defense wins you championships. I do believe Florida State will move on. The bottom game there, UCLA against Alabama. Alabama is my Final Four team. I'm going to put them through to the, I have them winning this ball game against UCLA. UCLA has put on a show. They have put on a show here in the tournament, beating Michigan State. They handily beat BYU and Abilene Christian. That wasn't even really a contest. I think I only watched the first half of that game, and I was like, yeah, UCLA is going to win it, because they were just blowing out Abilene Christian. But Alabama, one of the top teams defensively in the country. They're also a very good offensive scoring team. They like to get out and run. And if Alabama produces turnovers for UCLA, I'm telling you right now, this game could get closer than you think if Alabama turns the ball over. But any game can be close. And like I said in the first episode, anything can happen in this tournament. So I got Alabama moving forward. Now we move over to the top of the South bracket, where we got Baylor and Villanova. Hey, I like what Villanova's done here. No Colin Gillespie, no problem. We're talking about a guy who averages 15 points and about 5 rebounds a game for this ball club. Obviously, we know he tore his MCL on March 3rd. And I just think there's too much Davion Mitchell, Vital, and company. The quickness of Baylor, I think, is going to be too much for Villanova. And Villanova, this is the game that Villanova could use Colin Gillespie. And now, I'm not saying guys haven't stepped up. Guys have stepped up, like Robinson Earl and those characters. Like Robinson Earl has had a monster first two games. And if he continues to put up numbers like this, we could see them making this Baylor game a tight one going down the stretch and playing possession for possession. And when it gets to that, anyone can win this ball game. So it comes down to who's going to be that player on Villanova to step up. Like we always say, next man up. Who's going to be that player to step up and help this team scoring-wise and keeping up with the pace of Davion Mitchell and the Baylor Bears? I have Baylor winning. They're going to move on. Arkansas against Oral Roberts. This was an interesting one because we're talking about the number one scoring player in the country and Max Abmas and Kevin Obanor, these two guys are ridiculous. They haven't missed a single minute in their first two games. And my question is fatigue going to be a factor in this game? And now I know they've had 3, 4 days, 5 days off in between games here, but I think fatigue will play a factor in this game if they continue to play every single minute of every single ball game. But guess what? Oral Roberts, they got nothing to lose, man. They got nothing to lose. That's why you see them beating a Big Ten powerhouse in Ohio State, and then they beat a very good Florida team from the SEC, and now they're up against another SEC team in Arkansas. I tell you right now, if they because they beat Ohio State, they can beat anybody in this. They can beat anybody in this tournament. And Abmas, Obanor, 55 points for Abmas in the first two games combined. 58 points for Obanor in the first two games combined. These guys continue to put up these kind of numbers. They're averaging 27 points a game and 28 points a game in their first two tournament games. If they continue to put up numbers like this, they can beat anybody. And if you're Arkansas, now we're talking about Arkansas, one of the best defensive teams in the country, as well as one of the highest efficiency rating offensive teams in the country. They like to get out and run. If they start producing turnovers if Oral Roberts starts turning the ball over a lot, Arkansas is going to blow this game up because Arkansas loves to run the floor and they love to get out in transition, highlight reel dunks, etc., you name it. So if Oral Roberts doesn't take care of the ball like they have in the first two games of this tournament, they're going to lose this game by a lot. So I have Arkansas winning. I picked Arkansas. Moving on to the Midwest bracket, Loyola Chicago and Oregon State. This was a tough one. And the X factor in this game, and who I think he's going to be a vital key in them winning the ball game. I picked Loyola Chicago because of their 6'9" center, Kurtwig, who has been phenomenal in the first two games. His unique skill set and his basketball IQ. Like you saw, like he was running circles around Kofi Cockburn of Illinois. Like Kofi Cockburn's been dominant all season long, and he comes up against this undersized big man in Kurtwig, and Kurtwig's just running circles around this guy, beating him down the floor on the fast break, in transition, getting easy buckets for his team, dishing the ball out, rebound. I mean, like he was just too much for Illinois' number one center there in Kofi Cockburn. Here's a stat for you on Kurtwig. Kurtwig is the fourth Missouri Valley Conference player in its history to have over 1,500 points scored, 800 collected rebounds, and dished out 300 or more assists. The only other three players, and this is crazy, like what company this is, Oscar Robertson, Larry Bird, and Hersey Hawkins. That's some company to be a part of with those numbers. And I think he's going to be a key in them winning this ball game. They play a weird style. They play a weird zone defense, a crazy matchup zone defense, and it causes problems for their opposing teams, as you've seen in the first two games of this tournament. I have Loyola Chicago winning. Syracuse against Houston. I'm picking Syracuse. Like, I was skeptical like, at first I had them making the Sweet 16, and then I backed out of it, and I knew I shouldn't have backed out of it. Syracuse, I picked Syracuse winning this game, that funky 2-3 zone, and sometimes they play it in the style of a 2-2-1 zone, and 2-2-1 zone is such a weird zone because if the point guard's up at the top of the key, you're looking to the corners because the corners are wide open every time. You only have two guys along the baseline there defending. But once you throw that ball to the corner, it's a death trap because they trap the corners, and that's how they force turnovers. Another guy rotates over from the top to take away that next quickest pass. And that's how they force turnovers. And then Buddy Boeheim's just shooting the lights out of the gym. He's averaging over 30 points a game in the first 2 games of the tournament. And if he continues to shoot the lights out of the gym and shoot logo shots and make them, Syracuse is going to move on. And plus, I'm just a little hesitant on Houston because Houston barely beat Rutgers. They were down by 9-10 points in the last 4 minutes of that game. They go on a 14-2 run to win the ball game. And I love Houston, great defensive team, but if they can't stop Buddy Boeheim, they have no chance of winning this ball game. And by the way, a stat for you on Syracuse. In 3 out of the past 5 tournaments that they have made, Syracuse has made, they've received a double-digit seed. They've made it to the Sweet 16 3 out of those 5 years that they were a double-digit seed. And one of those appearances was a Final Four appearance in 2016. So, and I had a friend who picked Syracuse to make it to win the championship this year. And now that I've watched the first 2 games of what this team's doing, I won't be shocked if they get out of the Midwest bracket and make it to the Final Four. Won't be shocked and it's looking that way right now because, Houston's the highest seed left in that bracket. But anyways, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you guys very much. If you guys haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, or please hit the notifications button. Hit the notifications button, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube. Please hit the notifications button because I've been hearing from some people they don't get any notifications that my videos are up. Hit the notifications button. You'll get a notification saying, "Oh, I just posted a new video." Thank you guys again so much for your time. Stay tuned because the NBA trade deadline just passed. I got all sorts of info on that one and what I think of some of the trades that happened yesterday. So thank you guys again so much for your time. I will see you guys all in the next one. Deuces.